So I want to introduce you guys one at a time. This guy right here, his name is Yeti. You can see he's super light. He's responsible for some of the light offsprings I'm going to show you in this video. And he was bred to Chili, which is one of the females you're going to be seeing. Now, I don't have large numbers in skinks, but I do have good success with their breeding, and I'm interested to see how this guy breeds this year. This will be his second year breeding, and he just seems to get lighter and lighter. He's actually going into shed. That's why you can see that pink on him right now, but once he sheds out, he's just incredibly light. He's got nice light eyes. I just love his look. Now, all these skinks I picked up as babies, and I grew up 2 adults and then bred. Now, this is Chili. This is the female that he was bred to. She's pretty hungry right now. She's looking for some food. They're in the phase right now. They had babies probably about 3 months ago. No, longer than that. About 4 or 5 months ago almost. And they're in that recovery stage where they're eating a lot. During this stage, I give them quail eggs, rat pups. I give them, you know, wet food mix, chopped with vegetables, fruits, all types of stuff. These guys are, you know, pretty incredible. They're really easy to take care of. They can eat almost anything. Super strong jaws. So they're more than capable of, you know, crunching bone, shells. They'll eat shrimp, mussels, all types of stuff if you get it for them. So they're pretty cool to keep. These guys, I do a complete mix of everything. Now, this is Peaches. This is another female that we have. You can see she locked with the male that's underneath her, which is Showtime. And yeah, I have the genetics on these guys, so I know what their parents were. So they came from a classic to sunrise breeding. You can see this she's really pretty. Peaches. She's a light girl. Very beautiful northern. And she was also a breeder for us this year. So guys, I'm not working with a crazy amount of animals, but I just really focus on doing right by them as I breed them. So this is Showtime. He just shed out, so he's gonna have a good look to him. See how yellow this dude is. Now, he's beautiful. The reason his name's Showtime is actually I took him on the news when I was doing a reptile show, which actually I'm doing another reptile show, Safari Reptile Show. You can go on SafariEmpireNY.com to get some information. We're going to be putting that show back on after winter time. But the reason his name is Showtime is I used him in promotion. I would take him out for the camera, and he would just be on the news doing his thing. He's a very mild-mannered blue-tongued skink. I don't have any problems with him at all. He's not very flighty or nothing like that, which very few and far between. But that guy Yeti you saw up top is he's an animal, to say the least. To say the least. So this is how I keep my adults. But we're gonna head over to the grow out / juvenile rack, and I'm gonna show you how I keep them. Alright, so this is the rack that I constructed for growing out my blue tongue skinks. You see we got a good amount. This is all off those different breedings. So I have a code. You can see it says SSC6 here, so I know that came from Chili. Chili was bred to Yeti. And now I have SSP7, which is Peaches, bred to Showtime. SS is for Safari Skinks. C is for the leading letter of that female. And 6, the last corresponding number, is for the skink in that litter, so I keep accumulative numbers. So next season I will still have SSC, and then we'll start off at what she ended at, which I believe was C12. I'll have to look at my records. Those ones were either sold or traded. So this is how I keep them. Pretty simple setup. I'm actually going to be feeding them, so I'm going to break down their food. I'll show you their tubs, how they're set up. Very, very simple, very, very easy to replicate. And the reason I do them like this is consistency. I know that every 2 to 3 days I need to be in here doing the water, food, checking on them is easy because it's very clear. They're smart lizards. You can see this guy right here. He's kind of watching me, wondering why I'm just lurking around the rack. He knows he's about to get fed. So they work out really well. This rack is constructed from a wire rack. You could see it's actually a couple of racks put together to achieve the levels like this. And you can see in the back here, I have heat cable ran through the whole rack, if it would focus. So I ran those through all the way down, and that's connected to a thermostat. Now I'm able to, sorry for the blare there. Now I'm able to achieve really, really consistent temperatures with this setup in these racks. So it's worked out very well. I copycatted this off someone off YouTube. I can't remember the YouTube offhand exactly, but whoever that was, you're a great help. I actually have it set up for ball pythons, but a lot of these ball pythons is all empty because I have those out on a breeder loan right now. Sent those out to another breeder so I could focus on some other projects. I was actually building this lace monitor enclosure, which I will show that build in a later video. I just got to chop up the footage and put it all together for you guys. But basically, this is how I keep the skinks, and I'm going to show you guys like a very simple feed. Real is a base, and then I chop up fruits and vegetables. Today I'm going to be doing carrots. Save this, that can go to be used for other animals. These carrots have been in this room for a while. I don't refrigerate them honestly, so this is a little rotted and soft, which isn't a problem. I'm going to be cutting those pieces off so everything that I'm giving to my skinks is nice and good to go for them. What I'm actually going to do is skin this carrot, and these carrots will go to my superworm colony. They don't care if it's rotted at all. And the reason I skin my carrots is because I don't wash them. I don't really think the superworms need them washed. You know, they eat this rotting stuff anyways. You could also use these carrot shavings for isopods. Works really well because it's thin. They're able to really eat it. I would feed it later on in the day. I feed my isopods kind of at night, and I feed my isopods sporadically. My cultures at least. Stuff that's in like tanks and stuff. So you can see, super clean. I didn't really have to wash it. All those bits, this is going to go to the superworm colony. We also have an apple that I'm going to be adding today. I don't do too much fruits and stuff, and the fruits that I do use, they're not particularly high in sugar. I'm not really trying to give them like high amounts of sugar. A lot of these apples out here are like bred for taste for like humans. The core, not throwing that out, that's going to go to the superworm colony too. So I don't particularly like the skin of the apples either. I feel like they could have dye on them or whatever to make them look better. So I don't like to waste this. This can all be fed. This can be fed to dubia roaches too, but I'm just gonna sprinkle this into my superworm colony. As you can see, these guys are already eating, grabbing onto that carrot, getting loaded up with vitamin A. And these guys will be fed to the ackies, which I have ackies over here. which I'll be doing update videos on the Ackies. That whole setup's going to be changed. I'm going to be recreating my breeding setups and my grow out setups, and just creating a more efficient process for those guys. So back to this. Now we got our apples and carrots ready to go, and we have our cat food base. Start with these apples and just cut them real small. As a pecan. I'm going to toss it in there for them. Maybe I should be over more so you can see better. Seems like a decent amount. I'm going to do one more. Now I usually feed these guys pretty light because the cat food. I don't want to have like huge amounts of cat food left over and have fruit flies become a problem. I really hate those guys. So what I'm doing with these carrots, okay, so now I got my carrots and my apples cut up, and we're gonna add in this cat food. Now it comes with this gravy. This particular store I go to often was out of the regular cat food I get, so I had to substitute it. Usually I like to use pate cat food. I don't like to use the stuff with the gravy and like these little bits. Pate is like almost like, I don't know, tuna fish consistency. It's like a classic cat food, you know, if you ever see cat food in a can. The reason I don't like using the gravy and all that stuff is because they actually will lick up the gravy and get really full off of the gravy, which, you know, doesn't have that much nutritional value in it. So what I do is I actually drain the gravy out. So I'll take that and pour off the gravy in the trash can and just plop it right there and just kind of let it naturally kind of just come out of the can while I'm getting these other ones ready. It depends on the size of the can, so I usually need like 3 like regular size cans. These ones are the smaller ones, so I'm gonna end up using 4 of these. This is actually gonna go further probably than I need it to. So if I have extra, it will go to the adult skinks, which they get all types of stuff. They'll get dry cat food, dog food, fruits, vegetables, mouse pinkies, rat pinkies, quail eggs. This is kind of when I feed them up and get them real nice and thick going into that breeding season. Just make sure that they're just nice and healthy. They have all the vitamins they need stored up, and a good amount of calcium going for them. So you can see it's looking like a nice little mix here. Looks like I have a good amount. I have some leftover carrots and apples. Those can go to the dubia roaches, which will be fed today as well. They'll be receiving apples. So I got carrots the other day. So how I feed my skinks is I cut plates into quarters, and then I feed them off of these plates. I got that from TC Houston. Skink guy over there. I can't recall his name off top, but I have no problem admitting that I will cherry pick things from people that are smart and work something out that works really well, and this is something that works really well for me. So now that I'm ready, I got my little skink mix here. Pretty basic. I didn't put any greens in today. The reason I didn't put greens in today is because I don't have greens today. which is totally not a problem. These guys are pretty hardy. I know some people, I've heard of some people just giving them dry dog food and that's it. And they're doing very well. So to each his own. This has D3 in it. I don't put UVB on my skinks. The way I'm keeping them in the racks. Mineral works very well. I use this with my monitors, skinks, all types of stuff that I need to supplement. Tortoises as well. And now that I got this set, my little workstation, I got my plates, my skink food. It's time to start doing the skinks. Now I'm lucky enough to have a sink. I'm lucky enough to have a sink in my workspace. They were nice enough to have it installed for me. And the reason I say that I'm lucky enough to have a sink is because these skinks poop. Because you're feeding them all this good high quality food, they're gonna have a good high quality poop. So this one took a dump in its water bowl apparently, but luckily I have a sink and I really don't have to do too much work to clean this out. So I have my soap, my water and everything, and a deep basin. I don't know if my audio's picking up here, but I'm just going to wash this out real quick. Fill her back up. And now this guy's got a fresh water bowl instead of it filled with poop. Yeah, it's pretty easy once you have your system down. See, it just took a second. I went through these shavings real quick and made sure that there was no poop or anything like that. If there was something that I could pick up, you can see these guys are getting pretty big. He smells the food, so he's looking for food. This is one of my keepers, Folgers. You know, Folgers has got a super nice color to him. I believe it to be a male, possibly a female, I'm not sure. That's the whole point of growing these guys out. So what I do is check on their water real quick, make sure that they're relatively clean. The main thing with these guys that I've got from many keepers is that you just got to keep them dry. So I keep them on Aspen, which isn't the best. You can see sometimes it gets in their water, but I clean their water enough where it's not really a problem. So what I do is I'll scoop a serving for each skink each time I do it. The reason I don't make them all the same size is because I know which skinks are eating a lot and which skinks are leaving food on their plate, and they're not all the same size. This guy's pretty annoyed by me right now, but once I put him away with his food and his fresh water, I'm pretty used to the system. So he'll take a nice drink and he'll eat his food right up. Now you can see this is one of the light babies I was talking about going in the shed here. This is from Yeti to Chili and super light. You can see the difference between Folgers and this one. And it just keeps getting lighter every shed. So this is one of the ones I'm interested to see how it grows. Now the water's not too bad on this one, but the Aspen does get in there. So real quick, give it a rinse. The water here, I tested for pH and stuff, hardness. A little ReptiSafe cleans it up just great. So I just need a drop in there and I'm good to go. Honestly, I don't usually talk while I'm doing this. I usually play music. So I think they're kind of freaked out. So what I'm trying to do is get a good amount of carrots and apples as well as the cat food in there for each one, so I have a good mix, and one's just not getting a bunch of fruit or a bunch of carrots. Probably use a bigger bowl when I do the veggies and stuff because I'm spilling little pieces like that. Right. So you can see these guys are pretty easy to keep. Folgers is up here eating already. You can, at the end when I'm done feeding them, I'll go through and they'll all be eating. You can see the old plate from the last time I fed them, so there's no food left. So I'm I try to be pretty careful about how much I'm giving them, and I'm not overfeeding them, and I'm not wasteful. This is another one of our keepers here. Call this one Lucky. You can see the horseshoe right there at the base of the tail, and it's actually got this really, like, I don't know, like rusty color to it, and it just looks really cool. Like the red's coming through that saddle there. I just like how it looks. It's a very relaxed skink, so I like that too. I don't just breed for color. I like, you know, behavior as well. I like a good acting animal. So nothing crazy. Give it a good portion. This one's pretty good eater. Water's looking good, but I'll do that a top off real quick. The super good bonus about having a dedicated workspace is that I don't have to worry about washing stuff in my sink, stuff like that. See, these guys are mowing down these apples, man. They're loving them. Honestly, probably could have come a little smaller, but they're getting through them. It's probably good for them. Water's fine on this one. Go through the shavings. Check on the skink. Now this is one of the dark ones that I got out of the litter, and he's absolutely nuts. I think it's a female, the way that it's coming along. It's got this white coming through, but just absolute dark. So I like the lights and the darks coming out of these guys. So I'm really excited to see where these guys go in a couple years for sure. With the ease of care, I'm able to grow out a bunch of animals, and it's super cost efficient. You know, this started as a hobby, but now it's a bona fide business. So I got to be smart with the things I do and really think out what I'm doing. It's still fun to me, and honestly, it's really fun tracking the numbers and, you know, working out systems that work for me and work for the animal. So they get what they need, and I get what I need, and it's a symbiotic relationship. I take care of them, they take care of me. See, this one took a huge dump right here, so I'll clean that up real quick. I keep a garbage under here. Now these guys are all used to be together, came from the same mother, stay in the same rack, so I'm not too worried about cross-contamination. You can see this super light one we got coming out. Like, look at that. Look how absolutely light that is. It's just stunning, and it just keeps getting lighter and lighter, and it's coming from Yeti. So I don't know if we're gonna have a Yeti line going over here, but I think in a couple years, if I just keep bringing in light animals and working on this look, I'll just be able to make it lighter and lighter. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Get this one some fresh water. Now I've been trying some different cups, water bowls. You can see there's different sizes, and I'm always trying different things, trying to see what works best. Now what I think that works best is these ones here. They're actually made for cats, and you could get them on Amazon, but they work really well. And I don't know what the design is. It's not a circle, it's like a hexagon almost, but it just seems like they don't knock them over, and they drink out of them really well, and they don't get much shavings in them. So those are the ones I have to clean like the least, and they're in the same exact setting as the other ones. So I think those are the ones I'm going to be going with moving forward. Now you can see this guy, he's ready for his food. Eat it right off the dish while it's in my hand. I think a huge problem with people saying that their stuff isn't eating or anything like that is that they're overfeeding their animal. You can see this guy's eating great. A little bit of that apple in there, just the right size. It's going to get some of that carrot, hopefully. But you can see it's searching for the apple. So they're little piglets. They're going to want to eat what is sweet and which tastes the best. So that's why I mix that stuff in. And you can see that gravy and stuff. And that's why I pour off most of it, because there's still a good amount in there. But I want these guys to fill up on the nutritional stuff and not just that gravy. You can see he's eating that apple pretty good. Chewing on it. Good for the teeth. And down the hatch. So it works out really well for what I'm doing. And we'll continue to go through these animals. And I'll show you some of my keepers. But you can see how light and beautiful this one is. And it's looking female to me. And that's off of Chili. So that's fathered by Yeti. I don't know if I'm going to do a repeat breeding this year, or if I'm going to switch and put Yeti to Peaches, because she's super light as well, so I might achieve lighter babies, and she has that really nice like pastel looking color. This is another food bowl I use, which they end up like evaporates faster and it pools, so it has to be cleaned more often. So I'm probably going to stay away from those bowls in the future. You can see they're not all the same size. This one's a little special one though. It's got that really high white pattern in the back, but it's smaller than all the other skinks. It still looks like a little baby, but it's feisty. And that was off of Chili breeding too. So there's high variety in these animals, and it's super interesting to see it all the way through, mother to father to baby. And this one's going into shed, but when it's out of shed, it's almost like a yellowish gold. So I'm interested to see how these developed. Now I had a lot more skinks than this when they were babies. I actually started them off in a V18 rack, much smaller than this, and then I upgraded them to this size tub for my grow outs. They'll be able to stay in these for a good amount of time, and then I'll be transferring them into an adult setup, like I keep the adults that I showed you before. The reason that I like keeping the adults like that set up there is that I have those on timed lights, so I know that there's going to be a temperature drop, which I want the temperature drop. It's natural for them to have temperature drops. The reason that I keep constant temps on the babies and the grow outs is because they're growing, so they need they could use the constant temperature to constantly digest and eat and stay on it. You can say this one's super light too, kind of took after its father. This is fathered by Peaches, so this is a Showtime baby, and you can see it almost looks like its dad. It's got that yellow look to it, really nice contrast going on there. This one's water's ready to go. Scoop it on, scoop it on. I know they sell prepared skink diets. It's not something that I've honestly looked into, but I think it would be a cool product to try out. If anyone has suggestions on something that, you know, works out for them, I'd be interested in maybe trying it. I always like to try new things. So if you guys have any suggestions, comment below on what you guys feed your skinks. You can see this one is a messy boy. All its water is gone. We're gonna go through the shavings, see if there's any poop. Just a little there, a little there. Right in the garbage can. Get them a fresh water. This one's absolutely Halloween, man. This one's looking awesome. You can see the contrast on this guy. Like super yellow. Look at the stomach. Oh, chill. Look at the stomach on that. He's getting upset. Alright, my buddy. My bad. Just trying to show people how cool you are. So we're going to continue. Just going through the rack. Kind of rinse, repeat. It's really about consistency when you're growing stuff up. So I really like to see everything around the same size. You can see everything is around the same size. This guy knocked his water. So I take the opportunity to spot clean, check the animal, visual health check, kind of note where they're at, in shed, out of shed. This one just came out of shed. Nice little chunky girl, looking like a female to me. Go through there and make sure they have water and food. It's pretty easy. They're honestly comparable to like keeping ball pythons, but I think their food is sourced easier because you can just go to like any supermarket and get everything you need to feed these guys and give them a complete diet. I mean, maybe not the calcium, but you can buy quail eggs and you really wouldn't need the calcium. So you could feed them a healthy diet out of a supermarket. The thing with snakes is sourcing the rats. That's why we have our own breeding program for our feeder rats here at Safari. So we know what it takes to feed animals from top to bottom with creating the food source yourself. You can see this is a nice light baby from Chile. This one's shielding, making its back all nice and flat, acting like it's daddy. I would assume this is a male. Fresh water, fresh food for him, just like everyone else. Yeah, good. You can see they get that like behavior where they start shielding. Like they start getting like kind of mean. Like they'll take a whack at you. You start shielding their body. I find it funny. We'll hit this guy up with some food. Send him on his way. Now in a lot of my videos you're going to be seeing me working off of this table. This is my rolling workstation. Workstations I think are super important. Underneath it I have my garbage, so I don't have to walk around for my garbage. And I have a couple other things I could need for whatever type of service I'm doing, whether it be skinks, snakes, or whatever. This is actually one of the uniquest ones that came out. It's got this white going on here and this orange. It's going into shed, and it's actually much more colorful than it seems. It's got some leftover shed right in the food. Oh man. But yeah, this is one of the ones that I'm super excited to see how it turns out. Food and water on the way. Now, once a week, I'll take these water bowls and I'll deep clean them. Whoop. I know, I almost forgot your food. My bad. I'll take the water bowls and deep clean them, dry them out, sanitize them, make sure that I don't have a buildup or anything going on there. And probably 2 times a month, I'll replace these shavings as well. And I'll clean these tubs with soap and water just to keep them nice and clean. They've been in use for, I would have to do the math on exactly how old these guys are, but they've been in use for a while and they still look pretty clean. Some are more messier than others. You can see this one's a friggin' mess. So what I do is go through it real quick, spot clean the poop. The aspirin does a really good job of soaking anything up. So if there is a big mess, you can just grab a handful and get it out of there. Get that old food bowl out of there. This one's in shed. I would say this one's really chocolate looking. It's in shed right now, so it's not looking as bright as it could be. It's going right for that food, as you can see. In the wild, these guys are opportunistic feeders. So if they're lazing around and they got a full stomach and they can get another meal, they will try. So it's very, very easily to overfeed these guys. So just make sure that you give them, you know, consistent portions and really watching how you feed them. You don't want these guys to, see, this is the problem with leftover food, is it gets gross like that. Especially with cat food, I don't know what's in it, but it just turns into mold like so fast. So I try to get the correct numbers, correct portion I should say. You can see this one is absolutely, this is a little female. Get that out of your eye. This is a little female, I believe. She got a little stub tail, but this one's just like absolutely orange, like a mandarin orange, like straight up, like how like how it's looking. So I decided to keep this one, and grow it out and see how it goes. So I'm out of plates. So I have to cut a few more. No problem. Only takes a second. So I use paper plates. Get a good pair of scissors. And cut these into 4s to be used. And I also keep halves. I also keep halves for the adults. So I'll probably give the extras to the adults. So we'll keep the halves right there. The males at this time of year, honestly don't eat too much. The females seem to just be like in a bulking stage and just eating whatever they can get their hands on. So